So there's two underlying causes that keep your cells in a state of balance and health. I want you to think about this. Sufficiency and purity, okay? If your cells have sufficient amount of eating, moving, thinking, and sleeping well, do you think they'd be fairly healthy?
Yes.
Yeah. And if it's fairly pure, okay? If it's uninterrupted sleep, if it's fairly clean food that you put in, if it's not negative thoughts all the time, right? So sufficiency and pureness is really one way to be healthy and well. Now we can use this formula right here, sufficiency and pureness, with respect to eat well, move well, think well, sleep well. Does that make sense? Now, how do we get unhealthy? How do we get diseased? Well, what's the opposite of sufficiency and pureness? How about deficiency and or toxicity? But watch this. You know, I treat a fair amount of high-level athletes that are triathletes and things. And do you think that as a doc that believes in this concept of sufficiency and pureness and or deficiency and toxicity, I may think that those people may be overdoing it? Do you think they have toxic amounts of exercise? Do you think there's such a thing as toxic amounts of exercise?
Yes.
Absolutely, Karen. Sure. There's absolutely toxic amount. So I'm not just going to say to you, you need to exercise 2 hours a day. I think it's the worst thing you could ever do. But at the same time, I'm not going to say exercising twice a week is going to be just fine. So you need sufficient amount and a pure amount of those particular things. And certainly we don't want deficiency and or toxicity in any of those particular things. Does that make sense? All right. So the four critical things that we'll talk about is the eating, moving, thinking, and sleeping well, okay? And also your sleep patterns. So years ago, we used to use a health triangle in our office, okay? A chemical, emotional, and physical side to the health triangle. Has anyone seen a health triangle like that? I think you have to have a box because people have forgotten about sleep altogether, okay? We can still say eating, moving, thinking, the chemical, emotional, and the physical side of this whole thing, okay? But doesn't it make sense that sleeping is a critical part? If you look at some of the studies about sleeping and cortisol levels, how people think that, well, I sleep 4 hours a night, and they wonder why they're completely unhealthy. It's because of cortisol. And we'll talk more about cortisol tonight, okay?